After having finished a short series about flat earth, I will now start making a couple of videos about climate change. Just gonna say making those flat earth videos was painful, because these people are painful to deal with. Anyway, today I will start with a quite serious thing, and it's a bit depressing. Not so for me, because I already knew it was like this, but now I have basically had it confirmed by actual scientists. Now, just start with a very short explanation. My view on how bad climate change is worse than that you will hear scientists say. If scientists says it's this bad, I will say it's this bad. And the reason I am making a stronger statement than scientists is that scientists deal with what they know and what they suspect. And what they know is the thing that we can be sure it's this. But when they suspect, it may be more. And I am not listening to what the scientists say. I am listening to what the scientists fear. And I've known for many years that the scientists fear that climate change is much worse than they can prove. And that is what I'm listening to, and that is why I always claim it is worse than the scientists say. And typically, as more things are revealed, they catch up with what I say. In other words, they are able to prove the thing they used to suspect. And for this reason, I have had a quite dystopic view on climate change. This whole global warming thing is really, really bad. And now the news have come. Well, my interpretation of the news that has come is that it is now officially too late to do anything about global warming. We are done. We lost. And how is so? The reason is that scientists now believe that we cannot solve the climate change issue without disruptive policies. And what does this mean? Well, a disruptive policy is a policy that causes disruption. And for a very long time, scientists have said that we can solve climate change without disruptive policies. In other words, we can keep doing everything we've done. We just have to switch to electric cars, phase out coal-fired electric plants, plant some trees, recycle more stuff, and so on. And then we can keep living on the way we have done. And if we do that, we can save the climate without having to mess up our economy. In other words, non-disruptive policies. How can we say this? Well, in the past, someone said that 2 degrees Celsius of global warming above the pre-industrial levels is a line that separates what we can tolerate from what we cannot tolerate. And this 2 degree line, it's pretty much arbitrarily selected, but there have been some science afterwards to say that it is probably a quite good line to draw. But one have to understand that what we say is 2 degrees Celsius is a 50% chance that it is tolerable changes. There is a 50% chance that 2 degrees is intolerable. So that's sort of where the boundary between being in our favor and not being in our favor is passed. Now, one have to understand that there is a lag time between releasing carbon dioxide and climate changing. That means that if you turn on your car, drive a bit, the CO2 goes out in the atmosphere. It is not so that immediately the planet heats up in correspondence to your emission. It takes time to heat up the climate system. There is a lot of water in the ocean that need to be heated up For example, if you take a stone and put it in boiling water and immediately picks it up, you will feel it's not very warm. It will be warm on the surface, but if you hold it, it will very soon cool, because the heat will go into the stone and it's cold again. It needs to be there for a while. And when the oceans are heated up by the atmosphere, the air is laying on top of the water and trying to get the heat down over time. It's a slow process, so it takes a lot of time before the carbon dioxide has been released, before the oceans are heated up. So there is a lag time in it. And that means that the most extreme things we see is sort of really paid for. Now, we are currently experiencing a little over 1 degree Celsius heating. And we have to pass 2 degrees before we pass the 50-50% boundary. However, last year already we had on the northern hemisphere a couple of months where it was 1.5 degrees warmer. And given the lag time thing, we know that we have already balked the 1.5 degree Celsius warming. It is already paid for. The greenhouse gases are in the atmosphere for 1.5 degrees Celsius warming. And we just need the climate to catch up with the CO2 concentrations. It means we only have 0.5 degree left. And 0.5 degree, we have probably gone a little over that 1.5 anyway in current emissions. And then there are stuff that will be very difficult to phase out. We cannot quickly get rid of all the cars and all the coal mills and so on. So we will probably reach 2 degrees Celsius. We will reach 2 degrees Celsius. And that is what scientists have now figured out, that if we want to not reach 2 degrees Celsius of heating, it is no longer possible to do that by tweaking the system in a non-painful way. I will link to this in the description, but yes, they no longer believe in non-painful transitions. In other words, in order to dodge the 2 degrees Celsius, we need to do stuff that will hurt. We will need to do things that will damage the economy. It will be disruptive. We will have to pay dearly for this. Now, of course, if we started 10 years earlier, maybe we would have had a chance at that time to make non-disruptive policies and get below 2 degrees Celsius. But now there is little to no chance we can prevent 2 degrees without having to do really serious things. And I don't even believe we can dodge 2 degrees even if we would do really painful things. I actually believe personally that if I would spread out a virus and kill all humans on the planet within a week, we would still pass 2 degrees Celsius in the future. I do believe we have already put that in motion. In other words, we will need to take carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere, which will be even more expensive. Not only do we need to stop emitting, we also need to find ways of getting the stuff out. Now, getting carbon dioxide out is sort of easy because we can plant trees. Trees grow and we take the carbon from the atmosphere. But there are only so much area that is useful for this. And other techniques involves air filters that takes the carbon dioxide out and then put it away somewhere, and that takes energy, which is the problem from the beginning. So we now know that we cannot change the climate, we cannot end the climate change in time to stop 2 degree heating without making expensive and painful changes to the climate. And that leads to the next step. We will not make changes that are painful. The politicians cannot go to elections on painful changes to people's lives for a problem that many people doesn't even believe exists. And the voters will not accept it. And I have a pretty good idea about how painful those changes would be, and I'm not even sure I would be in favor of it, even though I know it's necessary. And No, so those climate change policies will not be done. We now know that adequate policies to stop climate change from passing the threshold where it is irreversible and very bad and we lose control of it and all kinds of apocalypse will follow. Such policies will not happen and we will have a climate global warming apocalypse. It's too late. We lost. And in this type of videos you expect to end with a happy chapter. That is a part in the end of a video where we talk about things we can do to do something. And yeah, we can still do things to mitigate so it instead of getting really bad, it's only get really bad. But no, we can't. We will see polar bears die out. We will see sea level rise over 20 meters, at least in the next century. We will see crop failures taking out hundreds and hundreds of millions of people due to starvation during this century. I doubt the Earth's population will be 2 billion even by the year 2100. At least in the century that follows, the population will drop below 2 billion. We will see lots and lots of people to starve to death. We will lose ecosystem. There will be places that cannot be inhabited at the end of this century. If a child is born today, that child will be 82 by the time of the end of the century. And that means that a newborn child will experience what we have done. They will experience the climate apocalypse, and it is too late to stop it. So it's a bit depressing, but that is the reality we have to live in from now on. Thank you for listening.